Think in pages. Smart summaries for busy minds.
What if everything you thought you knew about money turned out to be a lie? What if your entire life, all those years spent in school, chasing grades, degrees, his poor dad told him to study hard, get good grades, and find a safe, stable job with benefits? That's the way to live a good life, his father would say. But Rich Dad, he scoffed at that path. He said, if you work for money, you'll always be a slave to it. According to Rich Dad, this is the root of financial intelligence. The moment you stop working, the money stops flowing. This is why so many people live paycheck to paycheck, even with high incomes. Rich Dad taught that true freedom comes from passive income, money that flows in even when you're not working. You don't need to become a tax expert or Wall Street trader, but you do need to understand the basics. Most people avoid these topics because they seem complex. But Rich Dad believed that anyone could learn them if they had the desire. Rich Dad explains that even if you have a job, you should always be building your own income source on the side. Rich Dad said that no matter what you do, your ability to communicate, sell, and influence will determine your income. Rich Dad taught Robert that the poor say, "I can't afford it." In fact, he admits that choosing the Rich Dad path is tough. It requires discipline, courage, and continuous learning. It means stepping out of comfort zones, facing criticism, taking risks, and delaying gratification. But the reward is freedom, the freedom to live on your own terms, to help others, and to build a legacy. The way you think about money shapes your destiny. Take small risks. Build something on the side. Be patient. The rich ask, "How can I afford it?" One shuts down your brain. The other activates it. Talk to mentors. Financial freedom isn't overnight, but it is possible. It's about choosing to be financially aware instead of financially dependent. It's about choosing to learn, to question, to grow. Robert Kiyosaki's message is loud and clear. You don't need to be born rich. You just need to think like the rich. Because wealth isn't in your job, it's in your mind. If you believe money is evil or hard to understand, you'll repel it. Build wealth not for luxury, but for peace of mind, freedom, and the power to choose your life. But if you treat it like a tool, learn how it works, and respect its power, you'll begin to attract it. He even advised Robert to take a job in sales just to learn those skills, even if it paid less. Most people focus entirely on building someone else's business, their employer's, and never start their own. People who know how to sell, their ideas, their products, or even themselves never go hungry. They read books. They attend seminars. They surround themselves with smart people. Financial intelligence isn't just about numbers. It's also about human psychology. Break the cycle of financial ignorance in your family. This could be real estate, a side hustle, writing, investing, anything that moves you toward financial independence. Your job is temporary. Your assets are permanent. The rich make financial learning a priority. Your house? The poor binge Netflix and complain about their bills. They fear losing money, but ironically, this fear is what keeps them broke. That's why the rich focus on building assets, not just working harder. They believe the next raise or bonus will finally give them relief. But all it does is increase their lifestyle expenses. The more they earn, the more they spend. Rich Dad called this the rat race, the endless cycle of earning, spending, and repeating. The rich, however, break the cycle by creating multiple streams of income. They take risks, they make bold moves, they learn from their losses and bounce back stronger. They invest in businesses, properties, and intellectual projects that pay them whether they work or not. Most people think they know what assets and liabilities are, but they don't. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. That's it. But Rich Dad believed the opposite. He said failure is part of the learning process, especially when it comes to money. The rich are not afraid to fail. The poor avoid risks. If you're not learning how to make your money grow, you're slowly falling behind. They never learn how money actually works. If it doesn't generate income, it's a liability. Your car? Liability. The rich focus on acquiring income-generating assets, real estate, stocks, intellectual property, businesses. The poor and middle class spend their money on things that look nice, but lose value over time. They buy big houses, new cars, gadgets, and they call it wealth. But it's not. It's financial weight. Rich Dad believed in building assets, things that make you money while you sleep. He believed in financial education, something schools completely ignored. While the poor pay taxes first and live on what's left, the rich earn money, invest it, and then pay taxes on what's left. But it was a test. It sounds unfair, and it is, but it's also legal. Corporations allow the rich to write off expenses, protect their wealth, and reinvest smarter. Financial education gives you access to these strategies. Without it, you're simply a hiring employee trapped in the system. Greed makes them spend everything they earn, and a so-called secure job was actually setting you up for financial struggle, not success. Most people wake up every morning, go to work, get their paycheck, pay their bills, and repeat. They never question the system. Schools teach us how to be employees, not entrepreneurs. They teach us how to memorize answers, not how to solve financial problems. Rich Dad taught Robert that the real game is not about how much money you earn. It is about how much money you keep and grow. That's the exact storm Robert Kiyosaki invites us into through his best-selling personal finance classic, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He and his friend Mike wanted to learn how to be rich, so they went to Mike's dad, the rich dad, and asked him to teach them. But instead of sitting them down and giving them lectures, Rich Dad gave them a job. He made them work in one of his stores for just 10 cents an hour. It was grueling, boring, and completely unfair. That failure is embarrassing. Rich Dad wanted to teach them the difference between being stuck in the rat race and rising above it. When Robert finally got angry and wanted to quit, Rich Dad explained the first golden rule. The poor and middle class get trapped by fear and greed. Fear makes them run after job security. The rich learn how to detach emotionally and use money intelligently. Start by tracking your expenses and building assets. Learn about investing. Read books. But this isn't just another financial advice book filled with charts and jargon. Take action. Shift your mindset. Teach your kids about money. This is a story, a real story, about two fathers who shaped Robert's mind into very different directions. One was his biological father, the poor dad, a well-educated man with a stable government job, who believed in climbing the ladder and living frugally. The other was the father of his best friend, the rich dad, a self-made millionaire who never finished high school, but had mastered the game of money. From a young age, Robert found himself caught between two worlds, the world of security and the world of freedom. The first major idea in the book is this: the poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. Think about that for a second. Robert's first financial lesson began at the age of 9. Then comes one of the most powerful concepts in the book: assets versus liabilities. Another hard truth Kiyosaki reveals is how dangerous it is to rely only on earned income, your salary. One of the most eye-opening parts of the book is how the rich use taxes and corporations to their advantage. In school, we're told that making mistakes is bad. Kiyosaki also explains the power of financial IQ, which is made up of 4 key skills: accounting, investing, understanding markets, and law. Another striking idea from the book is how people chase job promotions, not financial growth. One of the most memorable chapters in the book is Mind Your Own Business. Kiyosaki also emphasizes the power of sales and marketing skills. Perhaps the most powerful theme running through the book is mindset. Kiyosaki doesn't romanticize wealth. He's not saying it's easy. Toward the end of the book, Kiyosaki offers real-world steps for becoming financially free. He closes with a challenge: Dante, just read this book and feel inspired for a week. In the end, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not about money. It's about choice.
Think in pages. Smart summaries for busy minds.